Hi, everyone. This is Jacqui Cooper with JCooperTravels and Talk Show, and I want to welcome you back to listening to this episode. I have a guest on today that is talking about a topic that we often don't think about because we sometimes feel we're young, we're vibrant, we don't have to think about, what happens down the road. But there's a lot of information in this conversation we're going to be having that applies to actually all of us. Before we start our conversation of today, and I introduce the guest, I want to share with everyone a little bit about my journey and why J Cooper Travels is around in case you're new to the talk show. So I have a diverse background. I'm both a certified travel agent. I'm also an attorney as well as a special educator. So I believe in following your passions and exploring different areas. The J Cooper Travel Talk Show started last year, prior to COVID. And when COVID happened, I decided to rebrand it. And it's not just about where do we go geographically, it's also about how do we travel in our life. So that can be personally, family-wise, career-wise. I know that I have traveled down many paths in my career. And, again, in my own family relationships, there have been, various paths that I've taken as well. So that's why this talk show is all about stories, about how we get there, where we're going, and what our dreams and goals are. So with that, I want to welcome Mark to the show. Mark, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for asking, Jackie.
So Mark and I connected on various social media platforms that we're all on. And I was very excited, to talk to him. Prior to us coming on to record today's show, we were talking about one topic. And then when I came back from Portugal, which I'll be doing more talk shows about that, he shared with me that he had recently become involved with a company that is really providing a wonderful service. And I resonate with what they're doing because of the fact that I'm in the special education field. And even though it doesn't have anything to do with education, it is all about how do we provide accessible supports to individuals within their homes and within their community. So Mark, I'm going to let you go ahead and introduce yourself as well as the company, because as I mentioned to you prior to our recording, I think really it's really important, the service that they're providing. So I'm going to let you go ahead and explain a little bit more.
I thank you very much. Well, Mark McClatchey, I'm the Vice President of Business Development at DwellAssured. DwellAssured's mission is to help seniors age in place more gracefully, safer, and just to live a richer and more fuller life. And because, they said before the pandemic, I think the number was somewhere around 85 to 88% of seniors wanted to stay in their home. And since the pandemic, obviously, because of all the things that have happened at nursing homes, that number is probably much closer to 100%. And our services and plan help seniors do that.
Yeah, so we're going to get into more details about how that works. But sure. Before you became associated with them, you've had a very interesting career as well. So why don't you share a little bit about your story and how you ended up coming to them?
Well, they kind of came to me in a sense. I have been in sales, business development, marketing management for 26 years now, since I got out of the Marine Corps. And my career has certainly evolved. Like you said, I've had a few career path changes, and I was fortunate enough about a decade ago to work for a very large enterprise organization that, prided itself on their sales training, but their product and service didn't so much fit my normal, the way that I felt that I could go to market happily, and just wasn't really passionate and driven about it. So when I left that organization, I was able to take all the great training and skills that they had provided me, and I got back into the commercial space. And I looked at what I was doing and how I wanted to get business. And I told my business partner at the time, saying that I wanted to work on 100% referrals. And his comment was like, well, I get good amount of referrals from my clients that I already have on board. And I said, no, I'm talking about building a network where people want to refer you often and regularly. And that journey had taken me on a very interesting, rewarding and dynamic path where not only has that increased my own business and my joy in doing the business that I do, but it's also allowed me to start my own company, which I do now professional business development outsource for companies, as well as training for companies to help them put business development strategies together. And it essentially started from my love and desire to want to connect people and to network. And I started doing that with reckless abandon, but with a very targeted focus in doing that. And I'm proud to say that in the last 12 months, I've referred over 319 referrals I've given out in the last 12 months. I did the tally just in this past August. And I don't say that to brag, except one thing is like, if you're going to brag, make sure it's about helping other people.
I love that. I really love that. Yeah.
And so that's how it all got started. And, you know, in the last 12 months, I've been, because of the way that I network, it's always been a focus on, you know, you can look at my business card, you can look at my website, and in a couple-minute conversation, you can understand what I do. But my quickest place that I try to get to with anyone that I'm sitting across from is let's discuss and explore how I do what I do and how it can make an impact. And one of those things is, because I have such a diverse network, you know, I certainly, if I'm selling, you know, a widget, I want to sell you my widget, but I want to first find out where you are at. And what that led me to believe or focus on is, you know, kind of, maybe it's just one or it could be more, but it's like, what are your top 3 problems or challenges? Because I learned that if I can help them solve what's on their front burner, first and foremost, I'm going to end up creating a relationship that's generally positive. I'm going to create an impact, but that impact is twofold, because if I make a connection for that person that provides that impact, I've now benefited 2 people in that process. And when you do that over and over and over again, it's a never ending of, you know, throwing pebbles into the pond, and those ripples just continue to go and go and go. And over the last decade, I've done that with just consistently and constantly. And it, you know, I knew it was going to pay off and provide me long-term benefits. The upfront benefit was always feeling good about, you know, I know I made a connection that mattered. But in the last 12 months, I've seen the biggest difference, where I am now starting to get opportunities come to my way of a life that I wanted to create for myself, which was, I felt that I was not better, but bigger than just offering one type of company or one type of product or service, just because of my network and how I worked with different people. Because if I'm only selling X and they have another need, well, for a lot of salespeople, they're like, oh, okay, well, I'll come back when you need me, versus I always had something to provide to that person I'm sitting across from. And doing that over and over again has brought companies seeking my services out. And after hearing it over and over again, I said, you know what, I think I should start my own business and become a professional business development consultant. And when I made that decision, which was about 8 months ago, it took me 7 months to kind of get it going and, you know, really make that leap of faith into it. And within that, by that 7th month, when I decided to do that, it was because one company said, hey, we want to hire you, but not until December. So I was like, all right, I can wait a couple months. And then within 2 weeks of that, I had 4 companies just reach out to me and offer me a similar deal where they wanted me to do contract work. And I just said, I guess this is a sign. And I owe it all to my fantastic network, to the people that I know. So, you know, a tip at the upfront is have every conversation you possibly can. Find out the value in other people, because one day you may run into somebody that needs that person or needs that particular value. And if you are that connector, you know, just continue to create ripples.
I agree with you. I mean, in doing the various talk shows that I'm doing, I'm meeting phenomenal people around the world. I know that we're going to be talking about a company that's based in Maryland and that serves the community in Maryland. But again, even though I might be meeting people in California or Canada or Texas, they might have relatives in Maryland. So, for those of you that are listening to today's show, even though we might be talking about the service that's currently being provided in Maryland, they are going to expand. And so definitely, reach out to myself or Mark, and definitely if you do reach out directly to Mark, and we will have the contact information on the block below, and we'll also mention it today. Mention that you heard about this on J Cooper Travels, because there might be, an additional gift that we can provide you as a support, as a thank you for connecting on the talk show. So Mark, I know that we're going to be talking today about the service that provides support to seniors. Is it just seniors, or what is the age group that the company is actually trying to help?
Well, the average age of the members that we currently work with is not the age that it's a requirement. So the average age we've seen has been 75, but it is any senior who desires to age in place and they want to stay in their home, and at varying different levels, depending on how you lived your life up until that point. Maybe you need our help and assistance sooner, or maybe one of your loved ones or family members feel like, hey, look, I'd like to make sure that you maintain, because that's the biggest thing with at any age, especially when you get older, is if you don't pay attention to certain signs, all of a sudden you're not, walking a plane, you're going down a hill at a great speed that you make careening out of control. So if we can manage that level, we want to maintain and hopefully improve the life of seniors. So we don't really have an age group that we require, but it is focused on seniors who, perhaps they feel that they need some help, or their loved ones know, they want to have a better care and protection, but a plan. So it's not just the protection, it's more though a plan. You and I as business owners, you don't just jump into anything and go, oh, I'm going to wing it and see what happens. Not that that doesn't occur on occasion, but you put a plan together and you execute that plan. And we help seniors create a plan so they can age in place and live a healthier, richer, and fuller life.
So the only reason I'm going back to this is, would you say that the age of seniors is like 55 and up, or where would people should be starting to think about this?
Well, certainly at that 55 and up, because one of the DwellAssured does focus on those communities that are like the 55 and over communities. And there are going to be some much more active. Hey, I'm good to go. I just wanted to live in this particular type of community that maybe we're not there yet. But some of the things that we offer really are not subject to age. It can just really make your life easier and simpler. So, anyone in that age group, that's nearing retirement, at retirement, it's a good time to start looking at us and thinking about us. And just a quick mention, because yes, we are currently in the state of Maryland, and we'll get into it a little bit more, but it's the amount of service providers that we have that can help provide the back end value that our whole plan offers to clients is the only thing that holds us up from going into new regions, states, or territories. So we're constantly looking for service providers that service those areas. But just to show you the kind of power of the plan, it was about 8 months ago that a gentleman from California who's in the home healthcare business contacted us, and he goes, I want to get started. How do I get on this? And we had to sadly tell him, well, unfortunately, we're not in California. We're in Maryland. He's like, get me the information, get me on that list. I know you guys will be here. And it was just really nice and refreshing. So, we've got one guy in California that's trying to get us all the way there. So we're heading that way.
So you mentioned service providers. Why don't you explain in a little bit more detail about the type of service providers that, are part of the service? And, I know that you talked to, when we talked offline, you were saying that you actually went through the process because you're, assisting. And so explain, if someone gives a call, how this process works, so they have a better idea.
Happy to. And so it's not just the service providers that we have. It's a full, 360-degree approach to helping seniors age in place more gracefully. So it starts with, and this part is relatively unique. We've looked and we haven't found another company that offers what we do in the depth that we do it. And the basis and the first power punch of our plan is we offer a 2-step process, 360-degree assessment. The first one's provided by a registered nurse that's going through all the health aspects, where you currently are, where you want to go, how we can help you get there to live healthier. And then the second is actually followed up by an in-home visit by an occupational therapist that spends about an hour and a half to 2 hours with that senior, walking them, going through a series of questions, but then walking throughout the home from top to bottom, out into the yard, wherever that senior may interact, because we want to make sure, okay, when they did it through my house, I am, I still feel pretty young and able to get around, but I am accident prone and kind of klutzy. And she pointed out a few things like, hey, you might want to move this because you're tripping, you might trip over that. And I'm like, there's no might about it. I trip over that pretty regularly. So they do that, but the RN and the occupational therapist assessment, the totals between the two of them about 3 hours. There's certain targeted questions that allow us to help put a plan together that deal with, their quality of life, their safety and security in everything in that guide. So we deal with their physical health, their everyday living skills, cognitive health, mental health, their social well-being, spiritual health, even their home safety, and which allows us to create a full encompassing plan that we are able to fulfill. But we don't provide any services. So out of all the companies I've worked for and represented in the past, I love working with a business that, one, we have no competitors, and every business that wants to work with seniors. And what I mean by work with seniors is their first focus is we want to help seniors and not help take advantage of them, right? It's a very distinct difference. We were looking for those that really want to make a difference. And, whether you're a meal service, or whether you're a reverse mortgage specialist or a home healthcare specialist and everything in between, we are a complement to all of those services, because when we put together that plan, it will dictate the various services and assistance that senior needs in order to remain in their home and stay healthier and happy. And what we do is, I guess you could call us like a concierge service specifically for seniors. And outside of having those vetted service providers that we work with, it's very comforting for that senior, because we've heard untold stories. You may have experienced this on your own, where I've even done this, where I need someone to do something for me or my home, where am I spending an hour trying to find that right person? And then once I find them, is there any concern that this is the right person? Where we give our seniors one number to call. So if there's anything that comes up outside of what has been dictated on their plan as far as what they need, they can reach out to one number and call our assessment team and be dialed into a service provider for that particular need. And the service providers call that senior directly, and the senior knows that they're calling. So those calls are not only accepted happily, but everyone is aware of what's going on. And that part is really a unique facet. And then outside of that annual assessment that the RN and the occupational therapist does, and this is another part that really makes this unique, every 3 to 4 weeks, our assessment team is reaching back out to that senior to have a personal conversation, either on the phone or video chat if they prefer, because life changes like it does for all of us, but especially for seniors. So if you're a loved one like myself, my mom is an hour away from me. Well, that's not real far. If something occurs that may not be, she fell and she can't get up, but just something that she needs, I'm an hour away. It's difficult for me to get there to try to get that. But if I have one number to call of saying, hey, my mom needs this, can you help her out? And they have those service providers already set up and ready to go. It reduces their stress level. It helps them feel like, hey, look, they vetted this company. I can let that guy or girl into my home because I know that DwellAssured has vetted that person. So that's essentially, what we do in a big nutshell. And we have had the full state of Maryland mapped out. We're always looking for more new service providers. My current next focus is Delaware, Washington, D.C., and Northern Virginia, and then probably North Carolina and Pennsylvania thereafter. But again, it's only the limited amount of service providers in a region that keeps us from offering that plan. So if you're a service provider and you know other service providers and we're not in your area yet, please reach out to myself or Jacqui.
So there are a few things that I heard that I just kind of want to bring back because you shared a lot of great information. So the company works with individuals who need to think about how to make their home more accessible to their current state or future state of being. And how does so I want to talk about how that works, what the cost is and how affordable that is. And then the second thing I heard is that you have a variety of service providers that can be used to connect in any of the little niches that someone might have a need. And then I also heard that because you're expanding to different states and other locations, the company's growing. So you might have a need for staff in other ways too. So I do want to just mention that depending upon who you are, who's listening, you might fall in a variety of categories. You might fall in the category of having a family member or yourself who might need the service, but you also might be a provider that also could be part of the service.
Mhm.
And then you also, if you're looking for, because I know I'm going to be sharing this out on LinkedIn and other platforms, you also might be individuals that's looking for a new opportunity. So since this company is growing, this might be a way that you can connect with Mark to talk about, does this fit into your own personal career path? Because this is a new company that is providing a quality service. So definitely those are for all my listeners, because I know I have a huge base. Think about how this might, fit your niche. But I want to go back to, if you're an individual and you want to use the service, how do you pay for it? How is this insurance, or is there a monthly? How does this work?
Well, we have our lawyers have kind of jumped in and said, one day after we have enough data where we can truly show that what our plan does is a health asset, maybe a home health caregiver, we are pushing for that day where we can get it in front so it can be covered by insurance. Right now, it's not covered by insurance, but the plan is that when you take into account of having an RN and an occupational therapist with the OT physically coming into your home, and then monthly touch points every 3 to 4 weeks, you're hearing from our team, and then you have the ability to reach out to us anytime. Plus our diverse service network. We found our closest competitor that I apologize, I didn't even remember their name, but I wouldn't want to promote them anyway. They don't offer the in-home assessment by the occupational therapist, and they don't touch base with the client on a regular basis. And they charge $319 a month, which is, for a lot of seniors, that's a pretty hefty bill. For a lot of people, period, that's a hefty bill. We charge about $1 a day for the entire year. So at $375, now I will tell you, if a senior doesn't go through you, Jacqui, or through me, and they go right to our website, the price is $450 for the annual assessment and to get into our plan. But if they have a discount code, which is really easy to get, just simply call Jacqui, reach out to her. She will be able to make sure you have that discount code, and then it's only $375.
So that's really affordable. I know that when you look at, not everyone goes to different coffee houses to buy coffee every day, but when you look at what you're paying if you go out to get coffee at $3 or $4 a day, this is very, very affordable, especially if you are thinking about the quality of care that allows you to stay in your home. And the flip side is, if you then have to move to an external place, that's going to be a lot more costly. And it also means that you won't have everything that you hold near and dear around you. So from the mental health perspective, staying in your home also, is really important for your quality of life.
And the peace of mind. I mean, considering, like a good point to the coffee, and then extrapolating it out to, if you have a parent mother or a father, and this is one thing that I love that I'm just proud of and just excited, is that if it's actually a couple that's aging in place together, it's not 375 times 2. It's actually just 375 for the couple, and they both get different assessments. So they don't combine them; they do them separately, that's an amazing deal. But imagine, you're a 45, 50-year-old professional with a very busy schedule, but you're really concerned about your mom or your dad. Just the peace of mind of having someone that's able to reach out to you and say, hey, we just had that regular 3-week call. Here's what's going on. To have that ability to have a licensed professional taking care of your aging parent or parents, and then following up with you to give you that assurance of like, okay, it's one less thing I have to worry about. Because I think anything that we've learned in the last 18 months is, okay, I have more things to worry about now.
Well, and the other thing that came to mind as you were talking is prevention, because a lot of times in our community, we react because of situations that happen instead of prevent. And I'll, give just a personal story. In my home, I have a porch and I have stairs going down the porch. And prior to the time that I accidentally tripped and broke my foot, I didn't have railings going down those steps, and I was perfectly capable of walking down the steps. But what happened is I wasn't paying attention. I was talking to someone who was in my front lawn, and I misstepped because I wasn't looking at the steps. I was looking at that person.
Yep.
Now, I have steps with railings,
Yep.
but if I had the railings, I probably would have naturally put my hand on the railing and walked on down while I was talking to him, instead of just kind of looking and then tumbling down. So it's like, if I had that prevention, idea, means that if you have this assessment now, then you will know what, like you said, what are your trip hazards, so you don't trip. You don't have to have the health medical care that happens after the fall. So again, this prevention investment, which is what it is, can help save costs down the road that you don't even anticipate or think about. So I think it's really important that, just like we go to the dentist to get our cleaning, we're preventing cavities. These are things that I think we need to be thinking about more beforehand, not after.
Yeah, an ounce of prevention, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. So, on and connected to that, I know that because my background's law, one of the companies that I became associated with, because I'm licensed in DC, but I've been meeting people all around the States as well as in Canada, is Legal Shield. And I also became associated with Legal Shield because a lot of the individuals I met, who I couldn't help because of my just being licensed in one state, they didn't have a will. They didn't have an estate plan. They didn't have papers, the necessary papers, or, as you and I've talked about, identity theft, and just protecting yourself from a lot of the things that go online. And Legal Shield is very affordable. $1 a day, just like you said. And the idea that you don't have to pay an hourly rate for having a law firm on your staff, your team, makes sense. So my information for the Legal Shield will also be in the block below. Mark, what else would you like to share about the company and the services before we kind of, end? Because I know that there's a lot of supports that they provide. I want to make sure we don't miss anything.
Well, a couple things. So one is, it's just as far as an overall kind of a summation of what we do. It's a focus on maximizing and minimizing. So we maximize the safety for that particular senior in that home to help them feel more secure, not just so they can live in their own home, but so they can thrive. So, part of that assessment and the constant reach out from our assessment team and the RNs is, working to help that senior set goals, and not only set them, but achieve them, because there are countless stories of someone, they go, oh, did you hear about Mary? She passed, 4 weeks after she retired or 6 months after she retired, because they stopped having a purpose. They stopped having goals. They stopped, being that active. And that also leads to depression. So that leads into the minimizing. We want to help minimize that stress and anxiety of that, feeling of like, oh, I'm put out to pasture. We want to help people age in place so they never have to go into an assisted living home, that this is the last place that they're going to be living. Obviously, there are some times but that's physically not possible, but we are confident that our plan helps them have a fuller life up until that point that they're no longer able to manage it. And we can get them to manage that ability much longer than without us, because of the various touch points where it's not just, oh, if I need a plumber, I can call one and it's easy, and it's an easy number. It's developing and working with that senior to customize what they best need in order to have a better life, and which is generally living in a home. I don't think there's many seniors of like, I can't wait until I'm old enough to qualify to live in an assisted living home. I haven't met a senior yet that said that. And then just another plug that, as you'd mentioned, we are growing. We're constantly looking for service providers. If you're in an area outside of Maryland, yes, we want to hear from you, because we will not offer our plans to any senior in an area where, when a plan dictates that they need a particular service, we're not able to fulfill that. So until we have a built out, and we've identified over 73 categories of service providers, and that list is continuing to grow, because as we meet new service providers or seniors that say they need this, we're like, oh, that's a really good thing. I think other seniors are going to need that. And then to help us get the word out, we're looking for ambassadors, people that want to share the story, or people that want to work directly with our company as a sales agent. And there's some phenomenal opportunities in that regard, because we are going to go nationwide. And again, this is one of those things that I wouldn't do it for free, but it's as close to an opportunity that I've ever had, where, the money matters so much less, because we're all going to get older. We're all going to be in this position. And most of us, or a lot of us at this time, have an aging parent. And they're like, you know what? I saw a friend recently go through this with their mom who died. And for 9 months, they were that lifeline, and they would spend hours trying to do things to help that senior and they didn't know about DwellAssured at that time. And it was a really stressful period for them. And being with a company that helps people out in that situation it's rewarding. I wake up every day with a smile.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And being involved, in the special ed teaching side, I know the value of having support services at both ends of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
So I've started something this year, which is called One Tip, One Place, and to kind of get us back into the area of both travel as well as, tips that, you've learned. So, well, let's start with the tip. What tip would you provide to the listeners? So that way it's a takeaway for them to think about.
Well, on the tip side, I'm going to keep it within DwellAssured. And again, that's DwellAssured.com. And it's about socializing. This is one of the things that our assessment team, both the occupational therapist and the RN, work with. And socializing is who is within your universe that can help you, because we also we ask the right questions and deep questions for these customers, or for our members, whereas who is the church groups that you go to? What groups that are you involved in? What groups can we help you get active in? Because the more that you do less of things, the more you lose faster. So if you stay connected with those groups, you're using your mind, you're being active, you're setting those goals, so socializing in all different ways. We'd love to have you reach out to DwellAssured, but if you don't, that socialization is such an important part of life. I know that I am much more miserable if I don't have days of where I get to interact with people. And my wife is really upset, because then I'm all throwing it at her and she gets annoyed a little bit. So, and it's no different for seniors. So
that's true. What about, good point. And what about the one place where, a lot of times we as travelers, we know what is listed in the tourist books or the places that they say go and visit. So talk about where you're located and the places that the hideaway places you would recommend someone to go discover.
Well, I've got two. I am a Maryland boy. I'm from Baltimore originally, and if you know people from this area and you visit here and they say Baltimore, they're from a suburb. If they say Baltimore, then they're probably right from Baltimore. So, and the two things. One, it's a lovely cafe that's in Columbia, Maryland, in the Owen Brown section. It's called the Bonheur Cafe, Bonheur. It's a French-style patisserie and deli. From sweets to sandwiches, it's amazing. And I don't say that lightly. You and the owner, John, tell him Mark sent you. Go in there. They have a baklava cheesecake that will set your pants on fire. It's amazing. And then if you're visiting Maryland, you will always hear about, oh, you got to get a crab cake. Well, I can tell you, one, traveling around the country and even some places in Maryland, not all crab cakes are created equal. And there is one place that it's in Linthicum Heights, Maryland, right outside of Baltimore, called G&M's, G&M. If you had only two crab cakes to choose from, they would be number 1 or 2, the best in Maryland. G&M's, incredible crab cakes.
Awesome. That's awesome. So, everyone definitely like and subscribe to J Cooper Travels Talk Show, because we have more incredible conversations coming up. And if you do have an interest in learning more, about what we've been talking about, reach out to Mark or myself. The contact information will be in the block below, so that way you can definitely get connected and either to use the services or become a provider or to connect with a company because of the states that they're in currently or about to expand to. So there's a lot of different opportunities. And the show is about providing value and information, as well as providing, again, a network of resources for, how you can improve or enjoy your journey in life. So with that, Mark, thank you so much for being on. I look forward to having more conversations with you, and have a great day.
Thank you.